The story begins with a grim revelation: I am dead.
Whispering. Beaten to death by Lucas's rivals.
The thugs yanked her hair, forcing her to look into the camera, while Lucas was sweet-talking his lover.
The deadline has passed. Where's Lucas?
Blood trickled from her forehead into her eyes and mouth. She rasped.
Whispering. I don't know.
You don't know? Everyone in City knows you're Lucas's woman. Call him with her phone.
The phone beeped before finally playing a message.
Sorry, the number you dialed is switched off.
Sophie could only laugh bitterly.
Whispering. Lucas and I have known each other for 10 years, from when he had nothing to where he is now. Everyone around him called me sister, but in his heart, I was nothing.
3 days ago, there was an issue with a batch of goods at the company. She couldn't find him, and when she called, his lover answered.
Sophie, are you shameless? Unless you're dead and I need to burn offerings for you, don't call me again.
For 3 days, Sophie tried everything to resolve the issue. She told Emily this was the last time she would clean up his mess. Once she returned, they would leave together. Only to find out it was all a trap.
Still hiding him? Stomping on her arm, I heard you ruined your hands for Lucas 5 years ago. Want to lose your legs too? Where is he?
Whispering. I don't know.
Liar! Hit her!
They beat her, smashed her head, forcing her to look at the dark camera lens each time. She whispered I don't know countless times. It hurt so much. Then, suddenly, it didn't hurt anymore. She felt like she was floating, looking down at her body being slammed into the ground in this abandoned factory.
Why isn't she talking?
Boss, she seems to have stopped breathing.
Damn, really? She couldn't take it. Who hit her last?
No idea.
Boss, what now?
Bury her quickly.
Sophie frowned, watching them hurriedly pack her body and belongings into a body bag and bury it. They even smashed the camera and threw it into the nearby hills. The scene was terrifyingly absurd. Not knowing where to go, she floated above her body. About 10 hours later, her phone, which had been damaged but not completely broken, suddenly lit up. Lucas was calling. Of course, as a spirit, I couldn't answer the phone. So, after vibrating for a while, it stopped. Then, it lit up again with a text message.
Sophie, how dare you not answer my call? Didn't I tell you not to call me? What's going on?
Naturally, I didn't reply. He called again, and I didn't answer. He called once more, but the phone's battery was low and it shut off. I could almost imagine his furious expression right now. But I no longer cared. 10 years of affection began with us seeking shelter from the rain under a bookstore's eaves, sharing a smile, and the thrill of our fingers touching the same book. It ended the moment I decided to leave. My heart had long since died. On the 3rd day after her passing, Emily found her. Seeing Emily look at her unrecognizable body in disbelief and then hold. A month after my passing, Lucas's company faced significant problems. Because I disappeared without handing over my responsibilities, many things were left without documentation or contact, throwing the entire company into chaos. Lucas called me countless times, but my phone was always off. Finally, unable to bear it any longer, he called my sister.
Where's your sister?
My sister is gone.
Put her on the phone. She's been missing for a month. I took Isabella out to celebrate her birthday. She's had her tantrum. Now she can't just abandon the company.
Lucas, this is your true motive, isn't it? If it weren't for the company's issues, you wouldn't even think of my sister.
You.
Isabella is so great. Why don't you let her handle the company's matters? When there's work, you look for my sister. For romance, you look for Isabella, right? My sister wasted 10 years of her youth on you.
Stop talking nonsense and tell her to get back to the company.
My sister is gone. She can't come back to the company.
With that, she hung up the phone. Lucas called again, but Emily didn't answer. He threw his phone in frustration, and no one in the large office dared to make a sound. Finally, Tom hesitated before stepping forward.
Lucas, when we were handling that batch of goods, there were a lot of complications. Sister might have been delayed by something.
Over the years, no matter how angry she was, Sister never abandoned the company's matters. This time,
Tom glanced at Isabella standing to the side.
Lucas, maybe you should go look for Sister.
What do you mean by that?
you don't understand what I mean? Sister handles all the major company matters. You, who can't even make it to the stage, dare to talk back to me. Ask anyone in the company who respects you.
You, Lucas.
Finally, Lucas spoke up.
I'll go look for her. Tom, take care of the company in the meantime.
I watched Tom's hesitant expression and couldn't help but sigh deeply. I knew Tom did it on purpose. When Lucas and I started the company, he was one of the founding members. It was the three of us who built the company from the ground up. Later, when Lucas proposed to me, he helped. And then, that day, when my hand was caught under the car, it was Lucas and Tom who took me to the hospital. Later, they and their brothers helped me deal with those who had wronged me. Ever since Lucas brought Isabella back, my heart had died. The reason I stayed at the company was more for these brothers. Lucas arrived at the house where I used to live. It had once been our love nest. The walls still displayed our simple wedding photos. In a corner of the living room stood a long unused piano. He pressed a few keys, and the piano produced a melodious sound. Suddenly, he stopped, standing there lost in thought. I could guess what he was thinking. Although my hands had healed, I could no longer do heavy work or play the piano. The day I returned from the hospital, I tried to play a few notes but felt my hands weaken. I cried and told him,
Lucas, I can never play the piano again.
He stood 2 meters away, half his face hidden in shadow, making it impossible to read his expression. Later, I learned that I had lost not only my ability to play the piano but also our child and my ability to have children. From that day on, he began to avoid me. Eventually, he found a young girl who played the piano beautifully and became infatuated with her. Suddenly, I understood. The sound of the door opening interrupted his thoughts. Lucas looked towards the door.
You finally decided to come back. You've been gone for a month.
Look closely. I'm Amy, not my sister.
Emily's cold voice came through. She rolled her eyes and walked past Lucas straight to the bedroom.
Where is your sister?
I told you, my sister is gone.
Lucas grabbed her arm.
Amy, I know you've always stood up for Sophie, but the company is really struggling right now. Once this is over, we can talk things through. You can vent all your anger on me then.
Do you think I don't want to? Do you think I don't want my sister to come back to life?
Tears fell from her eyes as she cried out.
Do you know how much I want her to get up and give you a good beating? but she can't. She never will again.
Lucas was momentarily stunned.
Impossible. I'm her husband. If she were gone, the police would have notified me first.
Amy wiped her tears and pulled a document from a drawer, throwing it at Lucas.
The police tried to contact you, but your phone was off. I heard you were out at sea celebrating your little girlfriend's birthday. You had a great month-long celebration. My sister never got such treatment when she was alive. Sign the papers. My sister told me that since you like Isabella, she would set you free. She didn't want to be your wife anymore anyway.
The document she threw at Lucas was a divorce agreement I had drafted before I passed. My signature was already on it. He threw the papers to the ground.
Impossible. You forged this.
But Amy just looked at him quietly, silently wiping her tears. Lucas grabbed her shoulders.
You're lying, aren't you? She's just mad because I didn't answer her calls, right?
Amy only responded with a cold smile. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Lucas's phone vibrated incessantly. He answered impatiently.
What is it?
Hello, is this Mr. Lucas? This is the police department. We're calling to ask for your cooperation in investigating the passing of your wife, Sophie.
I watched him rush out the door in a panic, accidentally bumping into a painting hanging on the wall. With a loud bang, our wedding photo fell from the wall and shattered on the floor, the protective glass breaking into pieces.
Lucas, didn't you say you never wanted to see her again unless it was to burn offerings for my sister?
She laughed through her tears and said,
Well, it's almost Qingming Festival. I'll be waiting for you to burn offerings for my sister.
I watched Lucas stumble out, fumbling with his car keys, his hands shaking so much he couldn't insert the key into the lock. My heart was calm. I didn't understand what he was doing. He was the one who said he never wanted to see me again, the one who wished I were gone. What was he performing now? Eventually, he arrived at the police station. I hitched a ride with him, watching as he stormed into the station, demanding answers.
Mr. Lucas, the reason we asked you to come is to identify these individuals.
The police laid out photos of the people who had assaulted me on the table in front of Lucas.
Identify them for what? Didn't you say I was here to handle Sophie's matter? Where is she now?
Mr. Lucas, please accept our condolences. Ms. Sophie has passed away. As for these individuals, they are connected to Ms. Sophie's passing.
She then played a video.
This is what we found. Please take a look.
It was footage of me being taken to that abandoned factory and mistreated.
Where is Lucas?
I don't know.
Don't think you can get away with not telling us.
I don't know.
Call him. Get him here.
Beep, beep. Beep, beep. Sorry, the number you have dialed is currently unavailable.
I watched my own pitiful scene on the camera. It hurt, but at least I couldn't feel the pain anymore. I glanced at Lucas. His eyes were bloodshot, and his clenched fists were white-knuckled. Everyone was silent, watching until...
Boss, she doesn't seem to be breathing.
Officer Jane and Tone, serious. After our investigation, we found that Sophie made a total of 99 calls to you that day. The earlier ones went unanswered, and later you turned off your phone, but the calls continued. Based on the evidence, it's clear that those people made the calls, and when they couldn't reach you, they subjected Sophie to inhumane treatment, leading to her demise. According to our findings, this was a premeditated kidnapping, starting with a shipment from your company 3 days prior. We checked the records. 3 days ago, Sophie called you about handling the shipment. We also spoke to her sister, Amy, who confirmed this. Our assumption is that the kidnapping was initially targeted at you, but Sophie was at the scene instead. Can you explain why? Why didn't you answer the phone that day?
Lucas's hands clenched tightly, and I could see his fists trembling slightly. He remained silent for a long time, saying nothing. Officer Jane glanced at her colleague, who nodded. She then placed several photos and related documents in front of Lucas.
Officer Jane, tone, serious. These are the photos we found of Sophie. It's tragic, her limbs were broken, her skull fractured, and there were multiple signs of assault.
Lucas stared intensely at the photos and the accompanying medical terms. Finally, he swept everything off the table.
Lucas, tone, shouting impossible. Lucas, tone, shouting how could this be? Lucas, tone, shouting this must be fabricated. Lucas, tone, shouting what did Sophie give you to deceive me like this?
He suddenly stood up, looking extremely menacing.
Lucas, tone, angry. I know she's angry. She's mad at me for not answering her calls, so she conspired with you to fake her demise.
But the police officers just looked at him quietly. Finally, one of them spoke.
Officer Jane and tone, serious, Mr. Lucas, we understand how you feel right now.
Lucas, tone, shouting I don't believe it. I'll call my lawyer. Until my lawyer arrives, I won't say anything, and I won't believe anything.
With that, he overturned his chair and stormed out. Someone tried to stop him, but another person intervened.
Officer Jane, tone, serious, let him cool down.
I followed Lucas as he stormed out.
Why isn't she picking up? Damn it!
I watched him angrily call his lawyer.
Find her. I don't care what it takes.
He called Tom and the others.
Tom, have you heard anything? No. Keep looking.
He furiously kicked a can on the roadside and then approached his car. He pounded on the car door because it didn't open quickly enough. Finally, he sat in the car, started the engine, and sped off. He kept calling my phone. Each time, the only response was, "Sorry, the number you have dialed is currently switched off." I sat in the passenger seat, watching his tense profile. Everything around us seemed to blur into light and shadow. The car drove for an unknown amount of time before stopping in a desolate countryside. At some point, it had started raining, first a drizzle, then a torrential downpour. He made one last call to my phone, and when he heard the switched-off message again, he angrily threw his phone aside. He rested his head on the steering wheel. The car was silent, except for the sound of rain hitting the roof. I watched him and suddenly saw a tear trace the contour of his face. I didn't know what I felt at that moment. We had once been in love. But that love had long since faded. What was he doing now? Lucas had been here alone for a long time when a call finally came in. He immediately picked up his phone, seemingly eager to see who was calling, but was met with disappointment. I glanced at his phone screen. It was Tom calling.
Tom, choked with emotion Lucas, we just went to the police station. Actually, the police came to the company some time ago, but I was out of town then. I heard that Amy went to explain the situation. She deliberately kept it from us, so I didn't get the news.
Lucas, tone, serious. I don't know all of them, but I recognize the leader. It's Jake, the one our rivals often use.
Lucas, we must avenge sister.
After hanging up, Lucas sat in his car for a long time, and the rain poured down for just as long. When the rain finally stopped, he turned the car around and headed back to the city. He went to Emily's house and knocked furiously on the door. But no one answered. Finally, a neighbor, unable to bear it any longer, came out and spoke.
Neighbor, tone. Unfriendly, Amy has already moved out. This house is listed for sale online. Knocking won't do any good.
But Lucas kept knocking, and people around him looked at him as if he were a madman.
Neighbor, tone. Angry, I told you to stop knocking. Are you deaf?
Lucas, tone, shouting, get lost.
In the end, Lucas was dragged away by the security guards. He was thrown outside the community, and after getting up, he still wanted to go back in, but the security guards threatened to call the police if he continued. Only then did he give up. He returned to his car and frantically called Amy. But Amy didn't answer his calls, and soon every call he made went unanswered. I guessed that Emily had already blocked his number. So, he sent message after message to Amy?
Lucas, tone, desperate, where is she? Where is she? Where is she?
No one responded. He was like a madman, raging helplessly. He called Tom, instructing him to use any means necessary to find Amy and make her bring me back. I saw all of this. I just wanted to laugh. Hadn't Amy already told him? I was already gone. The police had told him too. All the evidence pointed to the fact that I was gone, completely gone. What was he doing? He raged outside for a while before finally driving back to our house. He had half the ownership of the house and a key, so he could come and go as he pleased.
Lucas, tone, shouting, Sophie.
He shouted my name as soon as he entered.
Lucas, tone, shouting, I know you're here. Don't think you can hide.
He yelled and started rummaging through everything. As if that would bring me out. But it wouldn't. In fact, everything about me in that house had already been taken away by Emily. The only thing left was the lonely wedding photo lying on the floor. He walked dazedly to the photo and picked it up. The part of the wedding photo with me in it had been cut out and taken away by Amy. Nothing was left for him. The photo was framed with broken glass, and his tightly clenched hand pressed against the glass, causing it to bleed. He stared at the empty space in the photo, crying and laughing like a madman. For 3 days straight, he stayed in that house without leaving. I watched him rummage through places he had already searched countless times. He drank a lot. He lived very poorly. He kept sending messages to Amy, always asking where I was, but never getting a reply. Eventually, he slumped to the ground, looking utterly defeated.
Lucas, tone, defeated, Sophie, you won. I lost. Lucas, tone, crying, come back. I won't be angry with you anymore. I won't ignore your calls. I won't make you sad again. Come back, please come back.
But no one answered him. Not even a ghost. On the morning of the 4th day, his phone finally received a message.
Tom, Tone, hopeful Lucas, we found Amy. She's at the South Hill Cemetery.
Lucas quickly arrived at the cemetery. He walked row by row, moving upwards. I already knew his destination. It was my grave. I had settled here long ago, buried by my sister, Emily. That day, she cried her heart out. She vowed in front of my grave that she would make everyone who hurt me pay. Especially Lucas. She would never let him go. I always wanted to tell her that I just hoped she could live her life well. The people who attacked me were already wanted by the police. Although they were still on the run, they would eventually be caught and face justice. As for Lucas, I had long stopped loving him. In my heart, Emily's happiness was more important. I didn't want her to live with pain and hatred. After all, she was my only sister. But she couldn't hear me. So I couldn't tell her my thoughts. As Lucas climbed higher and higher, I could already see Emily's figure in the distance. She was kneeling in front of my grave, crying and burning paper offerings.
Sis, that jerk Lucas is still looking for you everywhere.
I can't believe it. The whole setup was aimed at him. He took Isabella out to sea and left you to clean up the mess. It's his fault you're gone, and now he's pretending to be sad. It's disgusting.
He keeps calling me, asking where you are. Does he think you'll always stay by his side, that this was all your trick, and no matter what he does, you won't leave? He's so wrong.
Sis, you promised me. The last time you cleaned up his mess was supposed to be the final favor for the brothers, and then we would leave. Why did you break your promise?
I wish it had been him who got caught and beaten that day.
The flames in the basin devoured the paper money, and the wind howled. Lucas finally reached my grave.
Amy! His voice was hoarse, his eyes red as he looked at her. What are you doing? Give me Sophie.
Aren't you looking for her? Here she is.
She laughed through her tears, reaching out to touch the black and white photo of me on the tombstone.
What, Lucas? Can't you recognize my sister?
About 10 hours later, my damaged phone suddenly lit up. Lucas was calling. Lucas clenched his fists.
Fake. You're all lying to me.
He kicked over the fire basin used for burning paper offerings, scattering sparks and ashes.
Lucas, I've told you countless times, the police have told you countless times, and you've seen the photos from the scene. She's gone.
Amy slapped him directly, and his face swelled and reddened.
She's already been cremated and is lying here as ashes. What more do you need to understand?
She slapped him again, one slap after another, until his face was swollen and bleeding.
Amy, please stop.
Why should I stop? Doesn't he deserve this? Tom, you saw my sister's condition. He was supposed to be the one getting beaten that day.
Amy didn't want to stop.
Where was he? Overseas celebrating a birthday with Isabella. When my sister was being beaten, he was enjoying himself. She called him so many times, and he didn't answer. If he had answered just one call, my sister wouldn't have suffered.
Amy cried and screamed, her voice hoarse.
The one who should have suffered wasn't my sister. It should have been him.
She broke free from Tom's restraint, picked up the fire basin, and smashed it over Lucas's head.
Amy.
Blood trickled down from Lucas's forehead. He stood there with his head bowed, face hidden in the shadows.
Amy, stop.
Tom dragged Amy away, looking back at Lucas with a complex expression. People came and went in the cemetery. I hovered in the air, watching, and suddenly remembered today was Qingming Festival. He once said he never wanted to see me again unless it was to burn offerings during Qingming. How prophetic those words turned out to be. I laughed silently, unseen by anyone. Lucas stood there long enough for the sky to darken and rain to start falling. Then he squatted down, looking at my tombstone.
Are you really gone?
Raindrops fell on him, trailing down his hair. He gripped the tombstone tightly, his knuckles turning white. Suddenly, as if driven mad, he began to dig at my grave, using all his strength. Passers-by tried to stop him, but he ignored them.
Lucas, what are you doing? She's really gone. We investigated it. She was harmed by Jake and his men. Let her rest in peace.
Tom pleaded, but Lucas didn't listen. I hovered above, watching him dig up my grave. It was a strange feeling.
The room was filled with panic and fear.
Boss, she seems to have stopped breathing.
The boss's face darkened as he evaluated the situation.
Damn, really? She couldn't take it. Who hit her last?
His eyes darted around, searching for answers.
No idea.
Boss, what now?
The boss's eyes narrowed, and he gave a curt nod.
Bury her quickly.
I frowned, watching them hurriedly pack my body and belongings into a body bag and bury it. They even smashed the camera and threw it into the nearby hills. The scene was terrifyingly absurd. I didn't know where to go, so I floated above my body.
About 10 hours later, my phone, which had been damaged but not completely broken, suddenly lit up. Lucas was calling.
Tom, quickly, we need to get her to the hospital.
Right away, Lucas. Everyone, let's move.
Tom immediately gathered the people who had been waiting nearby, and they all rushed Lucas to the hospital.
Tom, what about Sister's grave and the urn?
Tom glanced at my urn and then at my grave, which had been completely messed up.
Fix the grave. As for the urn, take it with us for now. And don't let Amy know about this, understand?
The subordinates nodded and went to work. I floated in the air, feeling utterly bored. I didn't even understand my current state. I had been gone for so many days. Logically, I should have moved on to wherever I was supposed to go. I didn't know why I was still lingering. If it was said that I had attachments to the mortal world, I didn't. The only person I couldn't let go of was Emily. In my early years, our family was well off, and Emily and I could barely be considered second-generation rich kids. Later, our parents died in a car accident, leaving just the two of us. The rest of the family divided up the company, leaving us with only our house. Some even tried to take that house, but I fought tooth and nail to keep it. Emily and I grew up with difficulty, relying on the little savings our parents left and the money we earned from part-time jobs. Later, I met Lucas. He treated me well, and I told Emily that I had found someone I could spend my life with. Emily was very happy. When I married Lucas, at that simple wedding, Emily cried her heart out. When did we lose that house? It seemed to be when the company hit a rough patch and couldn't hold on any longer. Emily and I discussed it and decided to sell the house. By then, I was already married to Lucas, and Emily had graduated from college and was working at the company. Although we were reluctant to part with the house, the company was also our hard work. We thought that once the company got better, we would buy the house back. But that never happened. We got through that rough patch. But I lost my ability to play the piano, lost my child, my ability to have children, and my love. Emily and I never left because the company was built with everything we had. It was like our child. But floating in the air, I watched them repair my grave. Besides Emily, I had nothing left. But I didn't know that back then.
I shook my head, unsure of where to go, so I hitched a ride with Tom, following my ashes. I didn't want my urn to be carelessly placed in some corner. But later, the urn was placed on the cabinet next to Lucas's hospital bed. As a ghost, I couldn't move it. It left me speechless. Tom, you really don't know how to handle things.
I stayed by my ashes, watching doctors come and go. Lucas's injuries were mostly superficial, nothing serious. The blood he coughed up was just from emotional distress, and he would recover with some rest. That was good. I didn't want him to pass away now and come to haunt me. That would be truly unsettling, even as a ghost. At least wait until I've been reincarnated. Then I can make sure he doesn't have a good end. As I was thinking this, someone suddenly rushed in.
Lucas, Lucas, how are you? Sob, sob. Please don't scare me, Lucas.
It was Isabella. I almost wanted to throw up. Seeing her about to pounce, I was a bit afraid she might knock over my urn. Fortunately, Tom quickly stopped her.
Isabella, who let you in here? Get out!
Who are you to shout at me? I'm not leaving.
You!
What about you? Don't think I don't know. Sophie is already gone. I've been by Lucas's side for so many years. Once Lucas recovers, I'll be the rightful Mrs. Lucas.
Isabella seemed to gain more confidence as she spoke, raising her head high.
You all used to call Sophie sister and said I was unworthy. Just wait. When I marry Lucas, even if you don't like it, you'll have to call me sister.
Call you sister? The only sister I recognize is Sophie.
You.
Enough!
As they argued, Lucas opened his eyes.
Lucas, you're awake.
Isabella immediately tried to help him, and Tom, even if he wanted to say something, kept quiet. But before Isabella could touch Lucas, he pushed her away.
Lucas, what are you?
Get out.
Lucas, how can you treat me like this? I've always been by your side.
Don't you know how you've been by my side?
I raised an eyebrow slightly. What did he mean by that? Isabella pouted and didn't dare to speak for a moment. But finally, she said in a low, aggrieved voice.
I know I can't compete with her, but she's already gone, Lucas. It's my turn now, isn't it?
Get out.
Isabella shed a few tears, said nothing more, and rushed out. The whole ward fell silent. After sneaking a glance at Lucas, Tom couldn't help but speak.
Lucas, I know you haven't touched Isabella all these years, but Sophie didn't know that. Neither did Amy. They've always been very hurt.
After that incident, you always felt guilty towards Sophie, thinking you brought too much danger to her. You found a girl who resembled Sophie to stay by your side, creating the illusion that you didn't care about Sophie.
Like this time, you went out to sea to secretly handle some matters, but publicly said it was to celebrate Isabella's birthday. Sophie was really in pain. Sometimes, I really don't understand why you didn't tell Sophie the truth.
Tell her about your helplessness when you saw her sad and your guilt for not being able to protect her.
Tom kept talking, while Lucas just stared blankly ahead.
Lucas, I'm not blaming you, but if you don't say anything, Sophie will think you abandoned her.
Isabella isn't a quiet person either. She's given Sophie and Amy a lot of grief, both openly and secretly. Look at this time, Sophie still.
Sophie died without knowing that you went out to sea to handle the last matter and to get the wedding dress you had custom made for her.
Tom started crying as he spoke, wiping his tears.
It's my fault. I just thought that once you came back, Lucas, you could explain everything to sister. I was too busy secretly preparing for the wedding. I was so happy that you wanted to give her a grand wedding that I didn't realize Jake and his gang would take advantage of the situation.
Tom kept crying and said many things. These were things I had never known. I frowned at him, unsure of how I felt at that moment.
My lies were clumsy. Who celebrates a birthday at sea for a whole month? I spoke harshly, saying things like I wouldn't see her unless it was during the Qingming festival, but I also knew that Lucas was in a dangerous situation and might not come back. I was afraid that the outside troubles would affect her, so I deliberately spoke so decisively.
The external threats had finally been resolved, and I could finally tell her everything openly, but she was already gone.
I couldn't believe it. How ridiculous. All these years of hiding the truth from me, just because of this? He didn't understand me at all. As long as he said he loved me, as long as I was in his heart, I would have been willing to face everything with him. I was never a coward. I didn't want to stay here anymore. I didn't want to hear what they had to say, so I was about to float away. But as I was about to leave the hospital room, I heard Lucas, who had been silent, say to Tom,
Tom, get ready. Use every method to find Jake and his gang. I want to handle it personally.
Lucas.
And use all our resources to bankrupt their company. Remember, any method is acceptable, no matter the cost.
But Lucas, you just resolved everything outside. If we wait a bit, the company will completely dominate the A-City market, and they will be nothing. It's easy to deal with them then. There's no need to rush now.
No need. I don't want to wait.
Tom was silent for 2 seconds, then nodded.
I understand.
It took less than a week. The rival company that had tampered with our goods was on the brink of collapse. They came to beg him, kneeling before him. But he ignored them. Jake and his gang were also found. Despite their efforts to escape to other cities, hide, or even leave the country, they were all secretly brought back to City A. They were all brought to my grave. By this time, Lucas had been discharged from the hospital. He held my urn and placed it in front of my tombstone. The cemetery was sealed off that night, surrounded by our people, ensuring no one could enter or leave. Gathered around my grave, besides those few people and Lucas, were Tom and Amy. Amy's expression was complicated. I guess Tom had told her some things. I hovered above them, unsure of their intentions. Jake and his gang were dragged to my grave. Upon seeing Lucas, they started kowtowing repeatedly.
I didn't mean to.
I just wanted to rough her up a bit, recorded to force you to show up. I didn't mean for her to pass away.
Yeah, we were just so angry. We didn't know who went too far.
We knew she was your woman, but everyone in City A knew you didn't care much about her. Didn't you have someone else?
Mr. Lucas, please forgive us. We know we were wrong.
Mr. Lucas, we're begging you.
They kept kowtowing, but Lucas just held my urn, calmly watching them. He had been like this for days. Apart from those initial days of madness, he had no other emotions. Tom had started hitting them. Amy also kicked them repeatedly. The rival company had gone bankrupt, and their leader had taken his own life after failing to get forgiveness. Jake and his gang, as their subordinates, were now being beaten. They screamed in pain, but Lucas just gently stroked my urn, saying nothing. When it seemed enough, he suddenly spoke.
All of you, leave, he said.
Tom hesitated, seemingly understanding something, and nodded with red eyes. Amy wanted to stay, but Lucas said,
I bought that house for you and Tom years ago. I planned to give it to you when I returned, but now the company will be in your and Tom's names. You each get half of Sophie and my shares. I've instructed Tom on various matters these past days. Go back. What happens next doesn't concern you.
Amy wanted to say something, but Tom pulled her arm. She nodded, eyes red, and left. Only Jake and his gang, unable to move, and Lucas remained. I watched him and suddenly understood what he intended to do. My feelings were complicated. I watched as he pressed each of their heads, forcing them to kowtow at my grave. I watched as he sent them one by one to their end, expressionless. Finally, he sat by my tombstone, holding my urn.
Sophie, he called my name as he had for many years. He talked about our past, our love, and our struggles. From having nothing, to having everything, and then losing it all. Tom said I distanced myself to avoid dragging you down, but only I know it wasn't just that. Sophie, after that day, I didn't know how to face you. He said, I knew how important that house was to you and Amy. I thought after that tough period, we'd have a great future, but... You told me your mother taught you piano. You said your happiest times were playing piano while watching your parents dance, with Amy twirling happily nearby. You said those were your most precious moments, ones you could never return to. I knew you loved children and looked forward to having our own. I remember years ago, you leaned on my shoulder and said your biggest wish was to settle down and live a peaceful life with our children, me and Amy. It was my fault. I didn't protect you, and you lost everything you cherished.
He looked at my black and white photo on the tombstone and softly said,
I've wronged you all these years. Though I never touched Isabella, I still hurt you. All excuses. I understand now, it was all just me avoiding reality. I was too afraid to face it all. It took me 5 years to figure everything out, but... Sophie, I'm sorry.
As he spoke, he took out a knife and, without hesitation, plunged it into his heart. I wanted to stop him, but as a spirit, he couldn't hear me. Blood splattered, and with his bloodied hand, he touched my photo once more.
He said, I love you.
Watching his blood pool on the ground, a sudden gust of wind blew. I felt unsteady. I suddenly understood. I had stayed in this state for an answer. Now that I had it, it was time to disappear. Watching Lucas's spirit rise, holding my urn and leaning against my tombstone. Seeing his astonished look upon seeing me as a spirit. I waved.
Goodbye, I said.
With that, I dissipated with the wind. This time, it was truly goodbye. The end.